everyone. Welcome back to the Playeasy Warm-Up, the podcast where we dive into the stories of the people shaping the world of sports tourism and events. I'm your host, Kerri Shields, and today's episode marks the start of something really special, the launch of the Playeasy Purpose Project. The Playeasy Purpose Project is our new charitable initiative of our company, Playeasy, designed to support and spotlight the incredible people and organizations doing good across the sports tourism space. Through financial contributions, event involvement, and sharing their stories with our network and beyond, Playeasy is committed to fueling the momentum of those making a difference through the Playeasy Purpose Project. As a former athlete and one of the co-founders of Playeasy, I've seen firsthand how sports can create connection, opportunity, and community. But beyond the games and the stats, it's the people, their stories, their purpose, and their resilience that truly move and inspire me and my teams. It truly is my why, and that's what the Playeasy Purpose Project is all about. And I can't think of a more meaningful way to kick off this series than with two remarkable individuals, Anthony and Lindsey Terling. I first met Anthony, the sports development director at Auburn Opelika, in person a few years ago at an industry conference. Auburn Opelika was one of the very first destinations to join the Playeasy platform. And from day one, Anthony and his team stood out to us. Not just for his professionalism, but for his kindness, his positivity, and genuine heart. During one of our earliest chats, he shared the story of his son, Austin, and I was deeply moved. The way Anthony spoke about Austin, about the journey he and Lindsey, his wife, have gone through as parents, the strength they found through unimaginable loss, and the legacy of light and hope they're now carrying forward was unforgettable. His words stayed with me long after that conversation. As someone whose own family has been touched by rare disease, their story hit incredibly close to home. Anthony and Lindsey's mission through the Austin First Foundation is a powerful example of turning pain into purpose, and it's exactly the kind of work that the Playeasy Purpose Project is here to spotlight. Anthony and Lindsey are the co-founders of the Austin First Foundation, a nonprofit they launched in honor of their son, Austin, who bravely battled a rare disease for years and continues to inspire so many through his legacy. While Austin passed away at just 9 years old, his life left a lasting impact, and Anthony and Lindsey have turned their personal journey into a mission to help others navigating similar paths. The Austin First Foundation is a beacon of hope for families facing rare diseases. It raises awareness, drives research, advocates for change, and provides support for families in Alabama and beyond. Through this foundation, they champion what they call the Austin First Way, a spirit of strength, compassion, and unwavering love. In our conversation, we talk about their journey, their mission, and how they're using sports and community to drive positive change. Anthony, in his role at Auburn Opelika Tourism, and Lindsey, through her professional and personal advocacy, are showing just how powerful purpose can be when paired with passion. I can speak firsthand in saying that Anthony and Lindsey, it was such a pleasure getting to know them and their story. If you were just meeting them for the first time, you would never know what they've had to go through over the course of the last 9+ years. And I and my team were so moved by how they live their life with so much positivity and grace and with a real passion to make change. And that's why we were even more excited to spotlight them and be a part of their event next month. So this year, they'll be hosting the 3rd annual Aces Fore Austin Charity Golf Scramble on May 19th at Robert Trent Jones at Grand National Lakes Course. If you'd like to get involved, the event is currently marketed on Playeasy, or you can feel free to reach out to support at playeasy.com, and we would be happy to point you in the right direction. This episode is an emotional, I may have teared up a bit, and an inspiring reminder of why we do what we do. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, quick pause to let you in on something we're really excited about. We are hosting our company's first ever summit this summer, the Playeasy Innovators Summit, from July 21st to 23rd in Valley Forge, PA. This isn't your typical conference. It's 3 days of powerful conversations, hands-on workshops, and real-world strategies for how we as an industry can level up with new technology and AI. We're talking sessions on growing event leads, boosting visitor and event experiences, and driving revenue from your Playeasy profile, all while connecting with top destinations, organizers, and partners from around the country. Plus, our team loves to have fun. We'll kick things off with a party, venture to one of Valley Forge's top attractions, and wrap it up with a Phillies-Red Sox game. And pack everything in between with value you can actually take home and use. If you're in sports tourism or destination marketing, this is where you need to be. Head to go.playeasy.com/innovatorsummit or email us at support@playeasy.com to save your spot. We'll see you there. Anthony and Lindsey Terling, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I first wanted to start off this interview and sincerely thank you guys for trusting me and Playeasy's team to help tell and share your story. It really means a lot to us to have your trust. So thank you, and I'm really excited for this conversation.
Thank you. Obviously on the tourism side of what we do and what y'all do, our team at AO Tourism's got to know you all, but I've been very excited for Lindsey to get to know y'all as much as we do through the sports business. But thank you for what y'all are doing for Austin First Foundation. I can't say thank you to you and your team.
Yep. It's what we live for, to be able to get, our message out. And, what better place than a platform that, can get it out there.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess to start, could you give a bit of the background, your background? What is the Austin First Foundation and what inspired you to start it?
Yes. So we have two sons. One of them was Austin. And we did not know when I was pregnant or when he was born that he had an extremely rare genetic condition. And, extremely rare meant there's still less than 45 kids that have been diagnosed, and that's kind of where we decided to take on trying to start a foundation to raise awareness for these type of rare diseases that are extremely hard to diagnose when there are so few cases or patients to compare it to.
Yeah, and I think for me and Lindsey, we were originally from Montgomery, had moved to Auburn, where Austin First Foundation is based out of. My line of work is sports tourism, sports management, but at the time, I was actually in Birmingham with Austin while Lindsey was raising our second child, who right now is 7. So at that time, he was only a few months old. So we're two parents basically split between a hospital that's 2 hours away in Birmingham. We're living in Auburn. She's raising a newborn child. And so obviously it was divide and conquer. And so, for us, being parents, working parents, we have the vision to have a family. We both, we're those kind of people. And, I think for us, when you have this expectation of the family you want, whether it's the type of kids, how many kids you want, are they going to play sports, are they going to be good at school or art, are they going to have great personalities, whatever it is, you have this vision. I think as any human being, if they admit it, they kind of dream what they think they're going to have. And, and when there's another plan, and we're very faith-based people, and when God has another plan, we're just people that take things as they come, and we only know one way, which is just to do the right thing. And I think when we sat there and saw that, a child wasn't being diagnosed with stuff, we said, hey, when we do get that diagnosis, we know we want to help. We've always just kind of in our DNA are people that are naturally that way, even if it's something as rare as 45 known cases. So, really it was easy for us to say, hey, when we do figure out what Austin has, we do want to start something. We didn't think it would be a 501c3 nonprofit charity, but we did want to figure out a way
to help other people.
Yeah, to help other people. So
I think just getting to know you guys, one of the things I respect most is just your transparency in the journey that you've had and your willingness to help other people. And so could you share your foundation's mission and how it honors Austin's legacy?
Yeah, I think, for us it was simple. It had to have Austin's name in it. We both, we're really prideful of, it's a family name. He is a junior, so he's named after me. And any parent, especially a dad that has a junior, they have that. It's just a unique connection. And really any parent that has a child that carries their name, I think there's an extra weight of connection there. For us, it was easy, and Austin was living at the time. It was in 2019 that we established the nonprofit. So I remember going back to where I was in the hospital with Austin. She was at home with a newborn. We both were reading a devotion that's on the date. And so she was reading one on June 27th. I was reading one on June 27th, which the only reason that has connection here is that was Austin's birthday. This was in the fall that this was happening, so it had no correlation to the actual time I'm sitting in the hospital. But we read the devotion, and both Bible verses were different. She had a different devotion, I had one, and hers basically said, be content in your circumstances. And then the one that I read was from John that basically says, you do not understand now, but maybe or later you will understand. So that basically just kind of spoke to both of us that we have no clue what's happening right now. It took 4.5 years for Austin to get diagnosed on average. This is a statistic in rare disease. It's almost 7.5 years it takes for an individual to get an accurate diagnosis. Remember that stat when we talk about a project we are funding through this foundation. But it took 4.5 years for Austin to get diagnosed. But we just said, hey, going back to who we are, we want to help. So we came up with Austin First Foundation. And the first part of that, the 1ST, is really about when you have something in your life, whether it's a child or a circumstance that you need to put first, you do just that, right?
Austin was always first.
Yep.
Even when we had Sullivan knew Austin was first. Like, whether it be he needed physical attention from one of us because of the medical devices that he had, birthday parties, for kids in his classroom and stuff like that. Anthony would, like, as he said, like, divide and conquer. Like, that was a real thing. Some people don't think I exist. And I'm very serious when I say that. Like, I've heard people say, oh my God, there's Mom.
Yep.
Like, as if I'm just like an elusive character, which I could see that, but I was behind the scenes. I was here. And like, we had to explain that to people. Hey, everything, you have to handle things the way that you as like a team or a family, because it wasn't just me and him, and it wasn't just me and him and Sullivan. There were, and still are, a lot of people that do for Austin. We have an entire board of people that, still do for Austin when it comes down to it. And it took a team. And I think that is like the number one thing when people do ask, why is it Austin first? Because Austin was always first.
Yep. And it also was to continue his legacy. It was, look, to paint a picture to the audience, this was a child that needed 24/7 care. So when we talk about dividing and conquering outside of being in the hospital, he was not a sick kid. He had a very rare genetic brain disease. 45 known cases still in the world are known right now. And they were saying that years ago. So it's a very rare disease. And just imagine when he passed away at 9, he was about the cognitive and physical ability of a 2-month-old. So 24/7 care. Everything he needed revolved around us being able to do it. So whether it was, like Lindsey said, people didn't think Lindsey existed, whether it was, hey, our other child has a birthday party to go to, well, who's going to take him? More than likely it was going to be me. Or if it was flipped, it was Anthony was staying home with Austin and Lindsey was going. Anything you think of that you do on a daily basis, if you have a kid or say you have a responsibility that's not a kid, but you can't leave that responsibility, that's what it was.
A shower.
Anything.
A shower had to be coordinated.
In your own house. If you've ever had a baby monitor, the baby monitor only goes as far as the reception of it or the extension cord. So just kind of painting that picture to the audience. And you said something, Kerri, that really hits home with us. We really try to be very open and honest and very authentic. And look, some of the things that we share through the Austin First Foundation, whether it's our blog, whether it's videos, or whether it's us talking on this podcast, or to an individual, we don't hold back, because we think that people need to know the reality of individuals that go through a rare disease journey. And believe me, they're not always as rare as the one that Austin had or many others. But when you find yourself in a boat where there's only, say, 45 cases, or in other senses, 400,000 cases, you're in a very small boat. But you'll find there's a lot of connection that are relative and parallels to what people deal with. So we feel like sharing those stories from our perspective as a mom, as a dad, as a working parents, we feel that's important.
Yep.
And I know just from you, Anthony, you're a big statistics guy, and Austin was just one in 45 people in the world that had the UBA5 disease. But what you're also raising awareness on is all rare diseases, and I believe it is 1 in 10 people families are affected by people with rare disease. My family is one of them as well. Why, Lindsey, maybe take this. Can you share why it is important to raise awareness for these rare diseases?
I mean, the obvious reason, one, being that 10 years ago, if you would have told me that you could cure UBA5, I would have been the first person to tell you that you kind of are delusional and lost your mind. Because how do you correct, after a child is born, how do you correct a mutated gene from 2 people? That didn't logically work out in my brain. And I understand, stem cell research and things like that. But, when it comes down to it, if they could barely diagnose him, they can't fix it, that's just not realistic in, a lot of people's minds. And fast forward, and it is possible, and that's the thing is I think some people are okay with accepting that something's not possible. And that's okay. I'm not downing any person that says, this is the situation I have and I'm okay with it and I'm not trying to fix it. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're talking children, we've seen babies that are a few months old pass away, all the way up to, I think one that recently just passed away was 18 or 19, right? Regardless, they're all kids. And if we could do anything, be a part of,
creating hope.
Yeah, creating hope and creating a cure, even if it's just curing the UBA5 gene, that means 45 families don't have to lose another child. And that, I think that's a lot of what people, I think that they feel like they probably can understand, but they can't fully understand until they lose a child, exactly how that affects, the domino effect of everybody around you. I mean, you can see, and I've said this many, many times before, when someone asks me how many children I have, I try to be super vague if possible, and I say, 2 boys. And once they start asking questions and I can't really avoid what sports my other one's in, and I have to tell them that, he passed away, I can watch the spirit inside them just slowly dwindle away. I mean, people just look at you differently. They don't mean to, but they do.
But I'll also add that, I was just having this conversation with someone from a work perspective last week, and we were talking, he wanted to know about Austin First Foundation, and I shared some of what Lindsey was talking about, and I shared some of the, the darkest stuff about how the child I was speaking about was no longer here, and all of a sudden he stopped. And I think what we want to convey is there's relative parallels. Somebody doesn't have to have a rare disease. It could be just a challenging medical situation. It could be cancer. It could be a lot of different things. And kind of drawing on inspiration and hope, and finding resources that will help. And as you mentioned, Kerri, 1 in 10 Americans do live with a rare disease. Every state has statistics of how many people in their state are affected by rare disease. In Alabama, it's 8.5% of our population, which is close to 500,000 people. So this is not a small problem, and don't think that just because our son had 45 known cases in this condition, there's over 7,000 rare diseases that have been identified across the world. All childhood pediatric cancers are rare. So this is a very big problem. And I think for us, the Austin First Foundation, working with many other foundations or other organizations like hospitals, researchers, from the bigger picture of rare disease, because we know we can do some really great things helping the UBA5 family, which is the condition that Austin had and passed away from. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of parallel and relative stories. I know you and I've talked about this. Lindsey and all of us have talked about this with you, Kerri, and the stories you've told us and shared. And I think having these conversations in what this individual I was talking with last week, he literally had inspiration by talking to me, because this was a real situation his child is dealing with, and his child has epilepsy. And his child is also being genetically tested. And it goes back to what Lindsey was talking about, how years ago, that was a real conversation we were having in our garage. And I'm, as the husband, trying to figure out how I can put strength in my wife's, mind and in her body because of what I'm watching. And I'm a dad too. I was dealing with it myself, but I'm also trying to be a good husband to say, I'm a man. I didn't birth the child. I can never understand and relate to what a woman who either carries a child or is the mother of a child. Let's all understand that, men, that the woman's perspective of their children is different. And that's my personal belief. So I'm trying to give her hope, and she's like, there's never going to be a cure. There's never going to be, it's genetic. And we did think that. But now we just received a thank you card from a real scientist, a real researcher. And I always say that because, you always as, oh my God, you see this on TV and you see this on cartoons and Bill Nye the Science Guy, but then this is a real living, breathing researcher, and it's a partner of ours, and it's Oregon Health Science University through the Radin Science Foundation. And this is the power of the people supporting and donating, but also what we're doing. And it's not us, it's the people that are doing it with us. And this doctor basically said that the research they are using on existing FDA approved drugs, because I will throw out another stat, as you mentioned, I love stats. Over 90+% of all rare diseases do not have an FDA approved treatment, let alone a drug or a cure. So let that sit for a second. There is all these rare diseases out there, and 90+% of them do not have FDA approved treatments. That is a problem.
UBA5 was one of them.
And UBA5 is definitely one of them, because, by the way, insurance is not naming anything and not giving you insurance for something that only affects 45 known cases. There's other things that you're diagnosed with that give you keys, which is insurance, right, basically. But this doctor said, and he wrote us a thank you card saying that they have now, through this research that the Austin First Foundation and others are directly funding, is showing existing drugs that are showing advancements and improvements to the UBA5 disease. That is power. That is creating hope. And I could tell you, and Lindsey can too, many other rare disease stories. I encourage people to look up the advancements of SMA. I mean, there's just advancements happening all across our country and world. And I think part of the key for us is to create awareness.
The connection that we have with Oregon Health is actually through another foundation, and their child is living.
His name is Radin.
Yeah, Radin.
Radin Science Foundation.
Yep.
And he has the same condition that Austin had.
And so sometimes it's a little different when you have the living child, and I'm not saying that like in a bad way. That is just, the push is there differently, the drive. And I mean, had we had the opportunity to catch Austin at what we say the golden years, to, catch the progression, then we would have absolutely been all in. But we know for us, we have the keys for spreading the awareness, for getting the word out there for that type of stuff, because when it comes down to it, there are children that 1000% are on this earth with this condition, and it could be cured. And
I'll say this, we're human. We've had the times where we've been mad, we've been upset. We get on a daily, it's one of those things, believe me, we just draw on a lot of things to give us encouragement and hope and strength. And watching and doing what we do, and the power of people like you and Playeasy and everybody at Playeasy, that encourages us, because every time we have a conversation with somebody, we find something that has happened in their life that's somewhat that's relative, and then we find out that it's impacting them. And look, from the keys for us, the 4 keys for our foundation are really 4 words. It's research, which we've talked about. It's awareness, which we're doing right now. It's providing support, whether it's supporting an individual going through a rare disease, whether it's paying their medical bills, whether it's pointing them in the right direction to resources. You'd be shocked how many people don't know where to turn, and their doctors don't even know where to tell them to go.
We didn't.
And we had no clue. The first place our doctor told us to go, besides connecting us directly to moms and dads of this condition, was Facebook, social media, the power of connecting people. And that's what we're trying to do. So the other word is change. So we have awareness, support, research, and change. And look, change is a lot bigger. Change includes laws. Change includes, things with the way people are diagnosed. So there's a lot of things that our foundation is involved in, and creating awareness. Because the thing is, when we have people understanding the needs of how to get diagnosed, then when you get diagnosed, where to go for those best resources. Sometimes it's just sharing the story of rare disease that connects to someone else, and they say, hey, I have a resource, or I have a connection to something. And that's the power of just talking about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think something that really stands out, obviously, Anthony, we've gotten to know each other over the course of the past few years, and it was probably not until a year of knowing you and what an influence you are within the sporting event and tourism industry that we're in. You're just a positive light and energy. And Lindsey, obviously getting to know you the past couple of weeks, you are the same. And it takes 2 really special people to be able to have the experience and what you've gone through, and still be able to bring light. And I think that message is something you really promote throughout your foundation, is living like Austin, and the positive energy that he lived through during the course of his illness. So could you speak to why it's important to you to live like Austin and what that means to you both?
So resilience is like number 1 thing that we've always said. That child was resilient. I mean, there was nothing that anybody could really do medical professional wise. Now therapists, I take that back. Stick him in therapy, and he is still.
He's mad.
But outside of that, there was just nothing you could do to upset him.
To give you an example, people probably know what a ventilator is. Hopefully you've never seen someone or had to be on a ventilator. He smiled every second on a ventilator.
Through the tube,
every second.
just cheesing. And I mean, this is the thing. Some people think that it comes with the condition, like he can't control the smile. No, he can control the smile, because he could frown just as big as he could smile. And like, that was something that, there were certain songs that people could start singing to him, and he'd just instantly frown. And I'm like talking like down to here. Like, I'm of course comically laughing because, it's just one of those things that he's always so happy. One thing happens, and then all of a sudden, like, he goes from super smiling to super frowning. He's just, like, that was kind of the epitome of how he was. There's so many videos of him just, when I say like dying out laughing, like, I have said this a million times over. If you can see him smile and see him laugh, and you do not laugh and or smile along, there is something wrong with you.
And to give you an idea, he never walked, talked, crawled, sat up. He sat up for 10 seconds unassisted one time. He never.
It was an achievement.
But the things that he could do with that laugh and that smile, and I think to answer your question from my perspective, Kerri, is she took the word I was going to use, but I think grit. And then the one thing that everybody talks about him, and if you go to our website, as we call it, it's a smile. And I think
Smile that changed the world.
Taught, I know me and I know her and a ton of other people that just continues to talk and tell us this, that if even in a bad situation, you know, it's like you're at the bottom of a dark well, but you can see that small little light from the hole of the well. That's that glimmer of hope. And I really do think that, I know for me, he taught me that, because even in the days where we were waking up, yes, we had an alarm set for 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. every day. I think we lived off 3 hours of sleep for years, but it didn't matter, because if he could deal with what he dealt with for 9 years, every single day, 24/7, I have a great friend that said he had no reason to smile, but he did. That's it. Grit, determination, and really just find the seed of good in all the bad.
Patience.
And patience. Because
boy, patience.
I think one thing we realized too was both of us, even, and this is a little intimate story, the day he passed away, I personally, we knew it was coming. We didn't know what day it was coming. We actually prepared for it as much as we could. If anybody can believe that, we had kind of almost like a fire drill kind of set up to where we kind of planned what was going to happen if something did happen at our house. And but the one thing we realized was that the world keeps turning and the birds keep chirping, and these are real things that were happening that day that we were just like, wow, I thought everything was going to stop, but it didn't. But it just taught us that, hey, we can find a way to continue on, to learn from what we saw. But those 9 years that we thought would never end because we wanted a better day for him, and even if that better day was somewhere else other than with us, that was fine with us. We weren't going to be selfish about it. But at the end of the day, it really just taught us perspective of the small things in life, and to see people in the moments that they're living in, right? Because, you know, you talk about, hey, you can talk to somebody and never know that something's going on, right? I think, like you said, Kerri, it took 1.5 years for me to share this with you. So Austin taught us a lot of things, but I think the biggest things, resiliency, grit, and really just be positive.
Yep. Being objective to other people and what they have going on.
Yep.
Period. It doesn't matter if it was your cat that you lost your earring, you know.
It's important to them.
Yeah,
right?
like what matters to you matters. I mean, and yeah, I think agreed. Yep.
And I can attest you are both living the life that you're preaching, and so I know I feel grateful to get to know you guys. And as we look forward to May, coming up is the yearly the golf tournament, Aces Fore Austin golf tournament, May 18th. Could you talk a little bit about what this event is and how people can get involved?
Yes, so that's our 3rd annual event. It probably should have been our 5th or 6th annual event. But when you have a child and you're running and you have full-time jobs and the nonprofit is something you're doing to help people, we actually did have to take a couple years of hiatus, but we're on our 3rd annual event. And it's a way to really do just that, raise money for research and create awareness. Look, we could have easily done an online fundraiser where we wanted people to donate online, but we felt it was super important to have people come and be together and create awareness and to really create some energy around the event. And we've done just that. And so 3rd annual, we're at Grand National in Opelika, Alabama, which is just basically a sister city to Auburn. Great partners of ours. And the tournament alone in 3 years has raised over $70,000. And we're very big on being transparent of where that money is going. This nonprofit has 0 paid employees. It is a labor of love. We've got a great board, a lot of great people to help us. But the funds, we work directly with Children's Hospital of Alabama and always work towards special projects that support the mission. And then another one is UAB, which is a hospital connected to Children's, and we support their undiagnosed disease program. I told you it took 4.5 years for Austin to get diagnosed. Well, that was the way he got diagnosed, was through the undiagnosed disease program. So we're just supporting something that supported Austin. And what's really neat about that is that program does afford people that can't afford the testing. Testing's not cheap, and by the way, insurance don't cover half of it. Doesn't cover a lot of it.
One test, 10,000.
So that's the other problem that people are finding with rare conditions that aren't supported by insurance. The last one is the Oregon Health Science University that we mentioned earlier. Look, we want to support rare disease as a whole, but at the end of the day, that's the global mission. But we do want to make sure we are helping our UBA5 family, because at the end of the day, that's why we're here. Austin was born with the UBA5 mutation, and we will always remember that, and we will never forget those people that we're trying to help. So Oregon Health Science University through the Radin Science Foundation, and that's where all the funds go from the golf tournament.
Amazing. And if people wanted to learn more just about the Austin First Foundation or this upcoming event, where would be the best place for them to go?
Well, one, Playeasy.
Yeah.
Selfishly,
Yes.
But you want to give them the website?
It's austinfirst.org, and the first is a 1ST. It is not first spelled out.
Yes, and then you can follow us on social media, Austin First Foundation. But if you Google Austin First Foundation, you will find it, I promise. And look, ways to get involved. Most people will say, well, I'm not a golfer. And don't say you're from far away, because we got people from Boston, we got people from Utah, we got people from Florida, we got all Alabama, Carolinas. So, hey, I don't want to hear it.
We're trying to get friends with somebody from every state.
But no, in all seriousness, golf, obviously, there are sponsorship opportunities. And then we say donate in 3 ways. You can financially donate, obviously. We are a nonprofit 501c3. And then, of course, raffle and silent auction items.
Tell them about...
We've been very encouraged and just humbled. The amount of people in this sports tourism industry, the more, I swear every show I go to, somebody else finds out. And you can tell I don't really just openly talk about it. But we've had groups from Branson, Missouri give a stay and play package. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. But I encourage you, if it's not share. If it's not financially, if it's not something like that, share it. Go to our website or just learn about it. Google rare diseases in your own state, and I promise you, you will find information about it.
Amazing. And I know I'm representing Playeasy as a company here, but we are starting a charitable arm of our company called the Playeasy Purpose Project, and we would like to donate $5,000 to your organization. We, once again, are so honored to be able to help share your story, to connect with more people, not only just in our industry and in sports and events, but well beyond that. And so I feel very lucky to be able to tell you guys that, and we're very excited to be a part of the Aces Fore Austin event in May. So
you have to tell us this ahead of time. You can't. You can't do that. That's not
blown away.
If for anybody that questioned whether we knew that ahead of time, we did not.
No.
And you can't. We don't act this well at all.
And I don't even want to start mentioning people by name, because I know I'm going to leave somebody out.
Yeah, don't get yourself
I think physically met almost everybody, maybe a few people at Playeasy that I haven't. But wow, humbled.
Thank you, yes.
And very grateful.
And now my nose is
thank
running.
you. And look, I will say this: it's there's a saying in the rare community. You know, individually we're rare. The uniqueness of someone with a rare disease, but together we're strong. And this is the exact example of this. You know, and like I said, I told Lindsey this to close out one day. We were talking about, you know, a charity is a business, right? But a charity also has a cause tied to it. And that cause is the most important thing that you should always remember in any charitable work. And not everybody co-founds a charity, right? And look, I always tell people that to say you don't have to co-found a charity like we did. You don't have to have the story that we did to get involved in your own cause or what is your why. You know, but we always said that from the business perspective, we had to maintain Austin First Foundation. It is a business, but it's got a lot of personal stuff to it. And we would not be honest if we were saying that it doesn't emotionally drain us sometimes. To either put on the golf tournament, we have, she's wearing our rare disease game shirt, do videos and stuff, tell the story every day. We're kind of a walking, talking, billboard for Austin First Foundation. But I'm saying all this to say that, if you just find something in your community that you can help, that you can give to, we said, look, selfishly, we want people to support Austin First Foundation. But when we've got partners that we've mentioned in this podcast, or like Raiden Science Foundation, or I would be remiss to say the other parent co-founded nonprofit called UBA5 Foundation. These are 3 parent-led nonprofits that all started because their kid had a condition, and they said, we're going to help, right? So I just say and encourage people, you can help. It doesn't have to be with a nonprofit, but you can help by finding something locally and just supporting it.
And it's okay to not be okay and still help.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing is people will say all the time, I'm in a terrible place.
Hey, we cope, we grieve, we have.
It's not a great place.
And 2 months after Austin passed away, we decided to get the golf tournament back up and running. So if that tells you anything, we've been doing this through grieving ourselves. That we're not asking for pity or sympathy on that. It's just saying that, hey, you can do this and I'll leave it with this. The smile, like I said with Austin, that still is something we look at and gives us hope every day and motivation. But tighten your bootstraps up. That's kind of a saying we always live by. But that doesn't mean we're not vulnerable.
Very empathetic.
Yep, very empathetic. So, but thank you, Kerri. This has been great, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, seriously, thank you both. It's really been an honor. I'm excited to get your story out there and continue getting to know you guys. Lindsey, it's been such a pleasure. I hope you can join us on our travels one day, or maybe on my trip to Auburn. Yes, I would love that. But yeah, thank you guys so much again. I hope everyone enjoyed this story. And until next time, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.